Pleasure it is to have you here.
Glad to be here. I love Toronto. One of the cleanest cities I've ever been in.
And that's a good thing?
Good thing.
All right. All right. You're a shameless and affectionate Michael Jackson fan.
Yes, no apologies needed. I mean, I don't try to hide that. I've loved the Jackson 5. I saw Michael as part of the Jackson 5, that memorable Ed Sullivan show back in 1969, I think it was.
See, in the 80s, I think Chris Rock has talked about this. In the 80s, people were divided into Prince fans or Michael Jackson fans.
I'm both.
I would always think of you as a Prince fan.
No, I love both of them.
It's possible to love both.
Yes, I mean even Questlove says that in the documentary. I don't think it had to be either or situation. Fans were vocal, but there were people like myself and Questlove and Mariah Carey also who's in the documentary, who was a fan of both. But I think though that they pushed each other the same way Magic and Bird pushed each other. I think that Michael and Prince pushed each other because they're going at it toe to toe.
McCartney and Brian Wilson.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
It's energizing not just to see this film, but to get reacquainted with the album Bad. Just before we hit the air, I was telling you that I can't stop playing it now. Even today, though, it's still, in a way, in the shadow of Thriller. Why did you want to put the focus on Bad?
Because I think that Bad, despite the fact it had five number one consecutive singles, is still, it's not given the credit that is due. I also think that Michael, in somewhat, his artistry, his creativity has been overlooked, and people were focused on other stuff. And so I was given the opportunity to do this documentary. I want to go back to the essence of the man, his music, his creativity, his God-given gifts.
You would have been a young man when this came out. I mean, you were right in the middle of school days. It was right before Do the Right Thing, right?
Yeah.
What do you remember about your relationship with Bad when it came out?
Well, I remember watching that show Monday night. The night before it was released, there was a special on CBS TV in America, a half-an-hour special where they had like a prologue, which was like a build-up to encompassing all of Michael's career. Then they showed the short film. Michael called them short films.
Yes, he wouldn't
For
call them
people out
videos.
there, okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna call them videos. Scorsese's great interpretation of the Bad Song, written by Richard Price, and the debut of Wesley Snipes.
And what did you think? What were your feelings at that time about this?
I didn't know what to think, to be honest, because I'd never seen Michael in that element. And right away, I thought, like, wait a minute, he's trying to come back to his black roots, reestablish himself with his black fans. I mean, he's in Harlem now with Wesley Snipes. So I think it worked, though. I think it worked.
Let me come back to that. That's an interesting point, coming back to his black roots. Just to explain a little bit more about this film first. There's this wealth of great archival footage from the recording studio, from the tour, some of it which has never been seen before, right?
A lot of it's never seen before,
Plus,
ever.
You've interviewed, it seems like, everyone who was involved in the making of Bad, from sound engineers, session
Bruce
musicians, Martin Scorsese, who directed the video of Bad. We hear from musicians like Kanye, Sheryl Crow, Justin Bieber, who were influenced by Michael.
Questlove.
What kind of reaction did you get from all those people who were involved in the making of this album when they heard you were making a doc about Bad?
They were happy because I think they had trust in me that I would get it right, because a lot of them said to me, Spike, I've been asked to speak about Michael, but I just don't trust people. But they put their trust in me, and they shared photos, video, and stories that they have kept to themselves. So I was very honored that people came forward and helped this be the piece that it is.
And that distrust would come from years of
just how people have exploited Michael since even when he was alive, and so people didn't want to be a part of that. Not his close friends, not people cared about Michael.
I already alluded
not people who love Michael.
Alluded to the situation Michael Jackson was in at the start of this doc. He was setting out to follow up the biggest selling record in history, Thriller. How would you describe his state of mind going into Bad, facing all that pressure?
Well, as John Brankus said, the co-executor as attorney, that Michael love challenges. But it still must be daunting to have a follow up to the most successful album, I mean, as far as sales go of all time. And I think that's why, I mean, that's why it took 5 years. You know, they made 66 songs. So, but I think that Michael stepped up to the task. And under the circumstances, and even Walter Yentikoff said that, who ran the label, it would have been impossible to surpass the sales for Thriller, but Michael never put boundaries on himself. So Michael's not going to say bad. We're just going to do as good as Thriller. He doesn't think he couldn't. If he thought like that, he would have been Michael Jackson.
But this is what's so interesting to me, Spike, because I feel like I followed Michael Jackson's career. I feel like I've read so much about him. It was still a revelation to me.
That what?
How much of a businessman this guy is,
yeah,
and how ambitious he was. He actually took red wax pencil. Michael Jackson was doing this, and wrote the figure 100 million on every hotel room mirror that he was in about his homes, about how many records he wanted bad to sell. We see the savvy businessman. We see him buying up the Beatles' back catalog, consciously knowing what he was doing. Is that a side of Michael Jackson's persona you wanted to put on display?
Well, I just wanted to be truthful, you know, and this was not going to be some wacko jacko whack job. You know, we weren't doing that. We wanted to concentrate on the man's gifts, his work ethic, and the creative process with his collaborators, and getting the follow up to Thriller, which was a bad project.
Even the benevolent, even the good readings of the narrative of Michael Jackson's life involve him being a great artist and a great dancer and singer, but as if there was this industry around him that created everything else. Why don't we know more about how much of a businessman this guy was? And he was. He knew what he was doing.
Because people rather concentrate on Wacko Jacko. Look, Elvis was doing some crazy stuff too now. You know, we're talking about the music industry.
Yeah.
It's not like, I mean, everybody had something. So the powers that be, they focus on what they wanted to focus on. As simple as that. And I think that, you know, if we did our research, we had time and Googled the reviews of Bad today that were written 12 years ago, we'd be amazed about how savage and brutal, how personal they were. I mean, they wouldn't even say Michael Jackson. They'd say Wacko Jacko's new album.
Right. In the review.
Yes. Yeah. That's criminal. I mean, it's shameful, I think.
Let me get back to this notion. Play through what happened in that year with this record and the video, say, for Bad, which was designed, as you just said earlier, to affirm his connection to the black community. What does that mean, and how much of a motivation do you think that really was for him?
Now, let's be honest, though. Bad was not the only video made for that album. But for me, I mean, even say it, Richard Price, the screenwriter of the video, said, I was told by someone, we got to make Michael down with the homies. Homies mean the brothers. Everything that Michael did was calculated. Dirty Diana, we're going after the hard rock. I Can't Stop Loving You, this is our ballad. You know, every single song was designed for a specific demographic. And with the 5 years between the success of Thriller and Bad, there was a feeling amongst many African Americans that Michael had become disconnected from his folks. And I'm going to be honest, I was thinking that too. No one knew he had the disease, you know, with the lightening of the skin. Just, you know, all types of stuff. People beginning to wonder. And I think, I mean, it's in the documentary, that Bad was an overture to his African American fans. Look.
How successful was it?
Oh, they loved it. People loved it. It's like, I'm still with you. Don't worry about it. I've not forgotten my roots. I still love you. And
it didn't feel manufactured?
No, that was heartfelt. I mean, that was heartfelt. So I think it worked. I think it worked.
Did some of the songs on Bad seem designed to give him this more macho, heterosexual image as a ladies' man?
Yes, that was bad. I mean, that was The Way You Make Me Feel. That was Dirty Diana.
But there's this amazing anecdote, Spike, from his vocal trainer who points out that Michael actually had a huge vocal range and that he could speak and sing with even a baritone
Right.
if he wanted to. He didn't want to. What do you make of that?
He wanted to speak like this. Look, the man knows. Seth Riggs, he's one of the greatest vocal coaches in the world, had a very intimate relationship with Michael, and for years tried to get Michael to speak with his regular voice, but Michael didn't want to do it. He wanted to speak up here. I don't know why, but he did. I'll tell you a very funny story.
You must have some insight into why.
I do not why. I'll tell you this, though.
All right.
I did a video for Michael. They don't really care about us. There's two versions. The one we shot in Brazil, and there's one we shot in a prison. It's supposed to be a prison, and we shot that in New York. So we would set them shots on the prison version, and I was going to the craft service table. That's where you had your treats and your food and stuff. And I hear a voice, Spike. I turned around, it was Michael Jackson. I had a heart attack. Spike, how much longer it's going to be? At first I thought it was a ventriloquist, but it was Michael's voice. So when he wanted to, he could revert to his regular voice.
Let me get back.
And I was a witness to that.
Let me get back to this Wacko Jacko stuff.
I ear witness.
You know, after Thriller, all the Wacko Jacko stuff was playing out in the media. I mean, and there's the song "Bad," "Leave Me Alone." The song on Bad, "Leave Me Alone," that addresses some of that. That video even shows the Elephant Man bones and the oxygen chamber. There's this great quote from Quincy Jones in the documentary that from the time where can you tell us the quote? He says it's like focusing on the cobwebs in the Sistine Chapel rather than seeing. How much was Michael able to take back control of his own image, or was it out of his control at that point?
Thriller was a whirlwind. So Thriller, he became the most recognizable face on this planet. So after that, it's out of your control. And there's a price for it. In fact, with the new CD that's coming out for Bad 25, there's 89 songs that did not make the Bad album. One of them is called The Price of Fame. So Michael paid a heavy toll, and that might be one of the reasons why he's not with us now in his physical form. But there's a price for that. I mean, no matter what you do, you got to pay for it, and he wrote about it in that song.
Tell me about going into this film. I mean, it is tremendously, I'll say, refreshing that it deals with Michael Jackson as the artist, his work as an artist, not his eccentricities, not to mention accusations of child sexual abuse, etc. How much of a conscious decision was that going into this project for you?
Oh, that was it from number one. That's the only way I wanted to do this. I wanted to focus on the work. So that wasn't even a question.
So a film reviewer at The Guardian, after seeing Bad 25 at Venice, he actually had great things to say about the film, but he did call it Michael Jackson revisionism.
I don't think it's revision.
Like you're leaving out half the story because you're not talking about the...
But it's not about that. This documentary is about the making of the album. So they got to go to that. What's that guy's name? Martin, what's his name?
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Guy that did that documentary?
Oh, yeah. The Michael Jackson documentary.
Yeah, what's his name?
Martin...
starts with a B.
Martin Bashir, that's right.
Yeah. They go mess with him. I don't do that stuff. I wanted to deal with the creative process. And for me, that's interesting. Anytime I meet somebody that I really love, they don't like being around me. You know why? Because I ask them 10 million questions. Even Stevie Wonder's blind. Stevie Wonder's blind. But we know Spike Lee's coming really high. Spike asked me, I'm living in this city. What? Golden Lady.
How did you play all the instruments
Yes,
on
and
Golden
where did
Lady?
this song come from? This phrase.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
because
got you.
I love the whole concept of creativity. And where does it come from? I mean, everybody ask them. You know, Prince, dearly beloved. At the beginning of let's go crazy. Where did that come from? You know, I love asking people that stuff. So this is for me, this exercise in getting into Michael's creative process, and also speaking to the people who in the studios. I mean, so often people are given a mic, a canvas pushed in their face. They have to speak about people, speak on topics they know nothing about. I was speaking to people who in the control room, who in the studios, who played on this album.
Do you think you would have made this documentary if he were still alive?
I can't speculate on that. You know, I can't answer that. I know. I mean, I'll be making more music though. He'd be making more music. That's more important.
I know I don't have a long time with you here, but I want to just get back to some parallels between you and Michael Jackson. Because going back to the idea that Michael faced the challenge of following up Thriller, I want to ask you about how you relate to that as an artist. Is it different getting to work on the next project after you've had a massive success?
Now, first of all, no one in this world has had success like Thriller. So my stuff is not even on the same universe with Michael.
But how do you deal with the pressure of expectations? How does Spike Lee deal with that?
That's a good question. Michael, I think, for him, a demonstration of whether something was successful or not was based purely on record sales and Grammys. My idea of success is not based on Oscars or box office. So that's where Michael and I differed.
Do you think that was a problem for Michael Jackson? The focus on wanting to win awards and sell lots of records?
It worked for him. And I'm one of the few. I still think he made great music after Bad. Many people think that he fell off after Bad. I think he made a lot of great music after Bad.
Spike, this has been a particularly busy year for you. There's Bad 25. You also directed Mike Tyson's one-man show on Broadway, released your self-financed movie, Red Hook Summer. Nevertheless, you said recently you've been frustrated by the fact that studios won't back a sequel to Inside Man, which was your most commercially successful film to date. Why do you think that is?
I've stopped trying to figure that one out. I moved on. Right now, I'm in pre-production. In fact, I'm in pre-production now. I flew in from New Orleans yesterday. It's a film it's a remake. I'm going to say it's not a remake, but a reinterpretation of the great Korean classic film, Old Boy. And it's did you ever see that film?
No.
Oh, you got to see that film. Starring Josh Brolin, Elizabeth Olsen, Sharpeville Copley, and Samuel L. Jackson. So we're looking forward to that. And also I teach, so I'm off this semester, but I'll be back at NYU.
But you
teaching
you famously
in the
had
spring.
these nasty things to say about the studios during the Q&A at Sundance, right?
Right.
You said Hollywood execs know nothing about black people. Has the Hollywood situation at least improved since you started out in the business?
Since I said those statements, since that tirade in January.
Did that tirade fix everything?
Look, here's the thing, and you can complain or you can do something. So that's why I financed Red Hook Summer myself, because we had to get it made. But you got to keep stepping. You got to keep moving. You know, keep it moving, keep grooving, and that's what I'm doing.
Getting back to Bad before I let you go. When it was released 25 years ago,
Yes.
1987, you had just won the Prix de Jeunesse at Cannes for your feature film debut, She's Gotta Have It.
86, yeah.
You'd edited it in your own apartment.
Right.
Your real breakout, Do the Right Thing, was still a couple years ahead of you.
89.
As a young filmmaker, 1989, the summer. As a young filmmaker,
funky drummer.
as a young filmmaker, then, where would you have liked to have seen yourself 25 years into the future?
Where I am today. Still making films, still telling stories, still growing. And one thing I like to say was that one of the best things that's happened to me is that the people I grew up loving, cherishing, I've had a chance to work with. Again, I saw Michael Jackson when he was with the Jackson 5 and Ed Sullivan. I worked with him. I grew up loving Stevie Wonder. Then Stevie Wonder did the music for Jungle Fever. You know, love Prince. Prince did the music for Girl 6. I mean, Walt Frazier, Muhammad Ali, Joe Namath, Willie Mays, Walt Frazier, all these people I grew up loving. I got to meet a lot of them, work with them. So it's been wonderful. Also, I'm the only person in the world.
Why are you pointing at me? What's going on?
No, this
you're
is
getting angry now.
Not at all.
All right.
None but love. I'm the only person in the world to have directed Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan, and Michael Jackson.
The Michael trifecta.
Yes.
Sounds like you're in a...
That's in that song. We can't name Negroes in Paris.
You sound like you're in a good place, man.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for this.
All right, my man.